The podcast critics have spoken.
Has this guy ever actually interviewed anyone before?
And...
Wow, that was long.
And...
I don't have time to listen. Very busy.
Sounds like this podcast isn't winning any awards anytime soon.
He did win an award in 2011.
Stop living in the past. What else with Corey Mann? Wherever podcasts are sold.
Isn't it free?
Part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 8 of Disney Plus Reviews. We are reviewing episode 7 of The Mandalorian today, an exciting episode to talk about. I'm one of your co-hosts, Phil Sousa, and I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and the guy who always cheats at arm wrestling. It's Jack Altermat.
Well, I wouldn't be so good at arm wrestling if I didn't have this baby Yoda that could choke you out, Phil. You keep thinking you're having some
That was a low blow. I wasn't prepared for that.
I just like that Baby Yoda's gotten over looking at his hand. Like, he's not no longer looking at his hand like, oh, I did that?
Now he's just like, no, I did that.
But he's confused. He's like, I thought you were trying to kill him by arm wrestling him, so, you're dead.
Yeah. Good episode. We have a lot to talk about today.
Talk about that.
Jack, you know what? One thing today we're not going to talk about?
What, Mel?
We are not going to talk about Star Wars Episode 9.
No, because we're going to do am I right that we are going to launch, though, a very special spoiler edition?
Yes. If you're listening to this right now and you have seen Episode 7 of The Mandalorian, but you have not seen Star Wars Episode 9 in theaters today, have no fear, my friends. We will not be spoiling Episode 9 in this episode.
Yeah.
We are going to do that, even though it has nothing to do with Disney Plus. Let's be honest.
It's Disney.
Yeah, it is Disney,
and someday it will end up on Disney.
It will eventually come to Disney Plus. In fact, if you're listening to this the day that Star Wars Episode 9 releases on Disney Plus, welcome to the podcast.
You enjoyed it.
But no, we are going to be recording that in a separate episode. So you'll actually see back-to-back episodes. I believe I'll have time to release both of them back-to-back here. So make sure you're listening to the correct one. But if you're looking for Star Wars Episode 9 spoiler talk, we're going to have a whole episode devoted just to that movie. But we'll do that in a separate episode from this. So don't worry. Keep hitting that play button, let it go from this point on, even if you haven't seen the movie, because we're going to keep conversation to that. And I'm going to hold you to it, Jack. If Episode 9 wants to come up in this episode, we're not going to...
No, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
I shan't.
If you are just joining us for this podcast, we are an unofficial Disney Plus podcast. Honestly, right now, we're only talking about The Mandalorian. We talk about some other shows and things that we've been watching towards the end of every episode. But for the most part, we're just talking about Mandalorian. The show is dedicated to just the most popular stuff on Disney Plus, and right now it's all about The Mandalorian. Our season 1 of this show basically is going to cover Mandalorian, and then we're going to move on to some other things. I have some things I want to chat with you about and our audience about at the end of this episode, some ideas I have for January.
Excellent.
But yeah, right now it's episode 7 of The Mandalorian. Next week will be our final episode talking about The Mandalorian. It's hard to believe it's already over. And then we'll be moving on to some new stuff in January. We have an email address if you'd like to write into the show. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the Mandalorian or what else you've been listening to on or watching on Disney Plus. Hit us at disneyplusreviews, PLUS, all spelled out, at hotmail.com, and let us know what you want to hear us talk about, or give us your own reviews of the episodes. That would be great to have somebody chime in. We will have some guests coming up, possibly even in January. I'm working on a couple guests right now.
Excellent. J.J. Abrams?
No.
Oh.
I called him. He won't return any of my phone calls.
John Favreau?
He also won't return my phone. He actually has a restraining order against our podcast.
Gus Chiggett from the Apple Dumpling Gang?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how low we are on the Disney totem pole.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get I don't know. Never mind. I'll stop talking.
So basic structure of every episode right now is we recap whatever Mandalorian episode that we watched, episode 7 in this case today, chat about our favorite moments of the episode, present our questions, thoughts, and predictions for future episodes, and I have a long list after today's discussion to talk about. And then at the end, we usually sprinkle in some conversation about what else we've been watching on Disney+. I actually have been watching a couple things this week, so we'll have some things to talk about there. But let's get right into it, Jack. This episode was a doozy.
It was banana. It was banana.
It was BANANAS. Bananas.
Finally, right?
Yeah, it's good. After a
We've been in neutral a little bit.
Yeah, episode 6 was kind of a low point, I thought, for the show. We knew
from
it had
momentum standpoint, it was a low point.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Not interesting. Still interesting.
Oh yeah.
But momentumly weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect with this episode. I wasn't sure if we would get right into like the main overarching kind of plot of the show immediately or not. Like if maybe we would take half the episode to kind of ramp back in, to obviously climax in the final episode in episode 8. But dude, right off the bat from moment one of this episode, we were right back in it, right back on the main plot that everyone wants to know about and care about. So I was really pleased with that.
Plenty of Baby Yoda in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And he played an integral part of this episode. And again, he's back at being the focus. He's back at being the hunted. And it re-caught its stride from the first. The first 3 episodes. I don't know of any show that I've ever watched the first 3 episodes of a show that were this dynamic as The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
And this episode really gets back in that stride. It fits right in.
Yeah, before we get into the recap, a couple things I want to mention. We need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. I think we called a couple of the things that happened in this episode, meaning one of the things that we've talked about a lot is that some of these characters that we've been introduced to in previous episodes are going to come back. We even kind of talked about almost an Avengers kind of assemble the squad, assemble the team, and we saw some of that in this episode. So some of the things that we were expecting to see, we actually saw.
And we kind of hoped to see. I worried that it wouldn't happen, but I hoped it would happen, and it did happen.
Yeah. I've got some predictions for what's going to happen in the last episode too. But
excitement.
Anyway, so the episode starts right off the bat with a transmission from Greef, which I wasn't. Mm-hmm. That was actually one thing I did not see coming, was that Greef would actually kind of kick this whole thing off. Like Greef Karga, I think is his name, is actually kind of the reason, the impetus for this whole assembling the Avengers type of thing to happen. Like basically the premise for the whole episode and really what is probably going to be the last 2 episodes is Greef saying, since you left, since everything went down here on this planet on Navarro, the client, this Werner Herzog,
he's the client, but he's essentially working for for that skeleton of the Empire.
Yeah, there is, and we see that actually towards the end of this episode. There actually is, like, the Empire is kind of alive and well in some ways. Like, this is either pre-First Order.
I think it's that power vacuum.
Yeah,
and you have people that are taking it in. I don't know if what's his name? I always say it wrong. Esposito, what's his name?
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo. I don't know if he is in charge of this new empire or what's left, but he certainly is a leader of this group.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. It's not Werner Herzog. That's for sure.
Well, and at the beginning of the episode, we certainly don't know about this Moff Gideon guy that we see at the end of the episode, but we do know that the client, his character is literally never named. It's just Werner Herzog, the actor that's playing him. But the client has basically like military taken over the town, like the whole area,
right?
And so like the bounty hunters, which kind of it's kind of implied that they kind of ran the town, or at least had some influence over town politics and stuff.
Yeah,
they basically been kicked out of town. Kind of keeping with the Western theme. Like there's a new sheriff in town, kind of thing, and the client has basically just is running the streets now and has kicked them out. Like a lot of them are like living outside of the city limits and stuff now.
It's actually very reminiscent to the whole thing. If you've ever seen Young Guns.
Oh, yeah.
It's very reminiscent of the movie Young Guns.
Okay.
Jack Palance's character is essentially the Giancarlo Esposito character. And anyway, it's interesting. which is a Western. Young Gun's a Western. It's a modern Western, but anyway.
So yeah, basically the transmission says, "We need your help. Come and kill this guy for us." What you get out of it is that we'll stop chasing you. Stop trying to go after the child. You keep the child. I'll clear your name. You'll basically be left alone from this point forward. But you need to do us a favor and help clear this guy out of town. So, I love that. Like, he wastes no time and immediately goes back to can't remember the name of the planet, but where Cara Dune is, which we've talked about on the show is I think probably both of ours. I know it's one of my favorite characters.
I love Cara Dune. She does not disappoint. She's a great character.
Yeah.
A tremendous character in the show, and I'm so glad she's on this show.
Yeah, she's a super strong character, has an awesome, like, mysterious backstory, and obviously is good in a fight. So it was really cool to see her again. She joins the group. When we first see her, she's in this. I'd never seen this before, and again, I haven't seen everything Star Wars. If you've been listening to the show, I haven't seen a whole lot of the Clone Wars. I'm trying to remedy that right now, or Star Wars Rebels or anything like that. But she's in this fist fight with this ogre. It's a Zabrak.
Which is the
Darth Maul's.
It's a species that is Darth Maul, basically, except his tattoos aren't quite the same as Darth Maul.
Yeah,
but he's a big dude, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's very ogre-like, and she's holding her own against this guy, and they're tied together with this electric bolt, which I thought was really interesting.
That way you can't run away, you can't hide out, you've got to play the game.
I thought it was like just proximity based, like you have to stay within a certain number of feet of each other, and it was certainly doing that. But she ends up strangling him with it, which is really interesting. Like, and it's not as far as I can tell, it's somewhat physical, somewhat tangible.
More like a tether.
It is a tether, but it's not like rope. It's not like rope that's electrified, because it just disappears at the end of the fight.
Yeah, they turn it off.
But it's somehow tangible because she ends up choking him with it. It was really interesting.
It's basically like a tractor beam, but it's not. It's just like a rope.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, tractor beam actually makes sense.
Yeah.
We find out a little bit more of her backstory. At first, she kind of like balks at the idea of going, like, when she figures out that it's not, he needs her help to go on this other planet. She's like, "Hey, you don't understand. I have a life sentence waiting for me."
Yes.
And she still doesn't go into all the details. I've always assumed she's just kind of been a deserter. That's why the Republic is looking for her.
Yeah.
But she basically says, "Hey, if anyone was to catch me either in transit or on another planet, pretty much I'm going to jail for the rest of my life."
Right.
So I'm not just going to do that just for anything. But then, as soon as the drop of the information of it's an imperial officer is who we're going to take down, she's like, "I'm in. Let's do this."
Cool.
So I thought that was really cool. Then it's a really short little sequence, but actually I think it has a lot of weight to it. But right after that, she jumps on his ship and they're flying away, whatever, and they're having this conversation about what they're going to do. And at this moment, the child overhears their conversation and kind of drops down from the ceiling, which is really cute, kind of cute. And then the very next thing we see is the ship is going out of control.
Yeah.
And the child is actually flying the ship, flying the Razor Crest.
Yes.
I was like, what? That was so awesome.
He's trying to pull it. He's using the joystick, and he's trying to pull him away from. I think he's trying to get the ship to not go where he's talking about going.
Right.
Which is unbelievable.
It's amazing that he's
intuitive.
Well, and it tells you how much he's understanding. Like he doesn't say anything. I was gonna say he doesn't say much. He doesn't say anything during the course of the show.
But he's starting to learn some things.
Well, and I think he at least recognizes planet names. Like when they were talking about, we're going back to Navarro. He's like,
he doesn't want to go there.
I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
So anyways, that sequence not only sparks, okay, we gotta stash him away back in his secret compartment, but also they talk about how we gotta find someone that can watch this dude.
Yeah.
Which finally introduces Kuiil.
Kuiil, yeah.
Which we've not seen since episode 2.
Right. And we kind of thought he wouldn't get drugged back into this. And honestly, I kind of hoped he wouldn't get drugged back into this.
I thought. I think I made the prediction last episode that I really didn't see him going off of his planet, like leaving his planet.
Right.
And to be fair, he doesn't want to. Like he takes a lot of convincing to actually like get up and leave.
Right.
But for him, it's about saving this child. Like for whatever reason, he feels a lot of almost fatherly kind of.
Yeah, he's like the grandparent to this kid.
Yeah. He wants to see this child survive and succeed at life. And so, yeah, basically he's like, yeah, I'd be happy to go on this mission with you guys. You kind of get the idea he's not really intending to do any fighting.
Yeah.
Like he's basically kind of a babysitter.
He's a babysitter, and he's got to bring his blurg with him.
Yeah, which is great because they
I didn't realize there's that much room in that
I know,
ship,
it
by the
doesn't
way.
look like there would be enough, but obviously
They made it, and it's a fake show. So I mean, but they made it work. So
yeah, I mean, I guess it's got a pretty good hatch on the back of it. But anyway, there's like 3 of them.
Yeah.
They put 3 blurgs on there. Anyway, so they pick up Kuiil, and they pronounce it Kuiil. Like I think we've been saying Kuiil.
Kuiil.
And
Kuiil.
To be fair, it's not really our fault. That this is the first time that his name is actually voiced on the show. In fact, it takes this long for the Mandalorian to finally ask him his name. He's like, "What do I call you?" And he's like, "Oh,
he calls him Ugnaught.
Ugnaught, that's right.
And he says, "My name is Kuiil."
So it's already getting awesome. Some of our favorite characters, Kuiil and Cara Dune, are back on the show. And then we see IG-11.
Yes.
Talk about IG-11 in this episode. It was so fantastic to me.
So IG-11, and it's basically this overarching theme that Kuiil is a caring person. He finds IG-11's body, robot body, and he basically reprograms him to be basically a butler. And
that's not an overstatement.
And protective, but he can defend whoever he's in charge of. But the Mandalorian doesn't trust any droids,
right?
And neither does Cara Dune. And they're all kind of like, this thing is built for killing. And Kuiil is convinced that it's not. So maybe IG-11's purpose will really manifest in episode 8.
Yeah. Basically, for the rest of the episode,
they're very jumpy when it comes to IG-11 because they know what it's capable of.
He sees the IG-11 and immediately pulls a weapon.
Yeah, he
on
better
her.
shoot it.
But yeah, he for the rest of the episode, basically every time we see IG-11, he's serving like hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. It's
And
like really
tea.
interesting. Yeah, and tea. Would you like some tea?
Yes.
It was cool to see Taika Waititi come back and voice this character again in this episode. I think we'll see a lot of him in the final episode. What do you think we're supposed to learn about droid? This is a long sequence. Like this takes up like a minute and a half of the episode.
I think what
are we supposed to learn about droids in this universe?
Well, we've learned a lot about
galaxy?
droids and how they are simply, they are the servant class. They're the servant class of this world, but they have value, and so they're basically, I don't know, like they're treated differently, but they have this other value to them. I don't know. The overarching theme on Star Wars in general are that this universe couldn't run without droids. It couldn't survive without them.
Sure.
Because they're in so many roles that other people don't want to do or can't do. And so I think we're just left to say, give droids a chance, maybe?
Yeah.
Droids should be given equal chances.
Yeah. Kuiil almost kind of takes like a kind of a fatherly role with IG-11 kind of re-raising him.
Yeah.
Like, because his neural harness is what he calls it, has been completely destroyed. So he basically says, I'm going to reprogram you from, like, he teaches him how to walk. Like he's literally like treating this thing like a baby, and teaching it just the things that he wants him to learn. And he even makes a statement of like, hey, droids, like, because obviously the Mandalorian, for obvious reasons, is deathly afraid of droids, but he's like, hey, droids aren't good or bad. Like they're neutral. These things basically act out whatever we teach them to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously like imperial droids are going to do evil, but only because their masters are evil.
Right.
It's more like a pet, like a dog or something like that. Like you can teach a dog to be vicious and bite everyone that comes in contact with.
Right.
Or you can teach it to be loving and just lick everything.
Right.
So
right.
I thought that was a very interesting sequence in this episode. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with like just the series as a whole, or really even Star Wars, except for like we just learned about droids in this episode, which I thought was really fantastic. So they take Kuiil, IG-11, and some blurgs onto the ship. So all 5 of these things jump on there. Then comes one of the most interesting scenes for me in the entire series, in all 7 episodes that we've seen. I kind of hinted at it a second ago, but Cara and the Mandalorian are in an arm wrestling match.
Yes.
And they're kind of joking, and Cara thinks she's going to get the upper hand, and he's like, "Do you want to double down the bet?" And then all of a sudden, we see the child reach out his hand, and he starts force choking Cara Dune.
Yes.
What do you make of this?
He really likes the Mandalorian. He thinks that Cara Dune is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Or trying to harm him.
Hurt the Mandalorian.
Yes. And so basically his reaction is a protective response. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, he tries to use his force power to choke Cara Dune.
So the only time that we've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, the only time that we've seen a force choke is the Sith side, the dark side, right? Like Darth Vader is famous for kind of doing that little pinch maneuver with his fingers.
Right, and maybe when you're young, you don't know the Force and you don't know the way of the Jedi, so you don't.
Yeah, I didn't know how much. I didn't know how much to read into this.
They could easily do that. So, are you saying then that this is an evil
I'm
Baby
saying,
Yoda?
I'm saying I was really confused by that because we've typically only seen him do kind of light side of the Force type of things.
I don't think he knows though.
He's too innocent to know that this.
Yeah, I don't think he really knows
that this is a dark side thing.
Yeah, I don't think he knows. He can tap into the Force, though.
He certainly hasn't had a Jedi master to teach him the ways of the Force or anything.
No, he is not. So
I thought that was a really interesting moment. And honestly, it'll come up again, like that kind of thing. Because no one, the thing about the child is no one around him so far knows anything about the Force. Like even Kuiil, because they're even talking about, right after this happens, they kind of look at Kuiil for a second and they're like, what was that? And the Kuiil was like, hey, after the Mudhorn situation, I knew there was something weird about this kid, but I can't explain it.
Well,
I don't know what's going on.
He said he remembered he'd heard rumors and legends of it.
Yeah.
Whenever he worked for the Empire, because Kuiil has said that he worked for the Empire. Cara Dune worked for the rebels. But Kuiil was an indentured servant. It's like he had a choice.
Right.
He was basically sold into slavery and then had to work out his life and put time in and then get out eventually.
Yeah.
Not his fault.
Yeah. I just think I think there's going to be a season 2. I think they've already actually started filming it. Is what
I've heard that too. Yeah.
I think they're filming it right now as we speak. But I'm really hoping that they double down on the Force stuff, double down on the child. I mean, everyone loves Baby Yoda. But they actually go more into the Force kind of stuff with season 2. They're not going to get to it in this season.
Yeah.
And actually maybe start training him, or maybe he's too young for that. I don't know. But it's unfortunate to me that, it is what it is for this season. But for next season, if they just keep going with this and he's not getting any kind of hey, this is light side, this is dark side kind of stuff, I think that would be unfortunate to see. I want to see him actually learn the ways of the Force as opposed to just being around a bunch of ignorant dummies that know nothing about the Force whatsoever.
Right.
So,
who knows? Maybe let's just speculate here. If the Mandalorian then takes him, how would you even track down a Jedi? Basically,
right. Well, and then there's obviously not very many Jedi at this time. This has nothing to do with Episode 9. In Episode 7, Star Wars Episode 7, we learn that Luke has been trying to train up a group of young Jedi. And
so maybe...
And so at this time, honestly, 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, there aren't that many Jedi around. Most of them are dead. They're Force ghosts and stuff like that. Even Yoda is gone at this point. So... I don't know if they would maybe run into Luke and his group of Padawans.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. They can do just about anything with the show, but and honestly, they have 25 years to play with. Who knows if the show would even go past the events of episodes 7, 8, 9 in the movies, or if they would hard stop at that point. But even still, they have 25 years of timelines to kind of play around with. So. Right. Kuiil makes some a soundproofing thing for his chamber, for the child's chamber. We see there's some comedic moments, kind of some lighthearted stuff in the episode, mostly from IG-11, he was hilarious. coming out basically in an apron.
Yes.
I don't think he literally has an apron on, but he's kind of got that kind of role. They land on the planet, and Greef still has the hole in his jacket. I don't know if you noticed that. Obviously, he still remembers kind of how everything went down. We're led to believe that he's very friendly to these people and is like, hey, let's work out a deal. And we've got a plan. And
he basically, the message is basically, he's got his hat in his hand. He's trying to convince them, trying to convince the Mandalorian, come back. I want us to work together so we can rid the town of these imperial people, and then you can go on your way, basically.
Yeah.
But I need your help.
I bought it. I wasn't honestly. Obviously you've seen the episode already, so I'm not spoiling anything that you haven't already seen. But like when the tides turn later in the episode, and you figure out, okay, no, he really was going to backstab the Mandalorian after all.
Yeah,
that was a surprise to me. I really thought I didn't think that Greef is like wanting to be friends with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I don't think you could be after everything that's happened, but I did think that they were like, okay, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones just so we can.
He's a vehicle to get me where I need to go.
To come to this agreement that is going to serve both of us.
I thought it was a trap the whole time.
Oh, really?
Thinking about it from a Western standpoint,
right?
That's classic Western stuff.
Yep. Let's work together and then stab them in the back.
The episode before, though. Think about the episode before this. The one thing about that episode, he had this quote unquote old friend, old Beardy. I don't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
Even he was going to turn on him, and he's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that episode is trying to foreshadow what Greef is trying to do to him.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's a good thought. Yeah. Everyone's an outlaw in this episode except for Kuiil and Cara. Dude, and then one of the best scenes in the episode, action scenes, they're called Bogwings. These flying like pterodactyl kind of creatures.
Yeah.
They're basically going over the plan around the campfire. It looks like they're living outside of the city limits of the city.
Right.
Basically camping out at night.
What could possibly go wrong?
And these things start flying in, and it's immediate chaos. Like everyone starts. It's pitch black outside. Everyone's firing their blasters into the night.
Darkness. Yeah,
just trying to hopefully catch one of these things. No one is presumably no one is actually hitting one. One of them picks up a freaking blurg.
Yeah,
at one point. Like these are big creatures, flying creatures. The Mandalorian torches one of them. So now we got a torch.
It's 6 out of 7.
Arm torch 6 out of 7.
He's 6 for 7 on episodes of using the torch. Now, okay, this note says Minox.
Oh, they're Minox?
Which Minox are what's on Empire Strikes Back whenever Han lands inside of the.
Those are smaller though, right?
Yeah, I don't think those are Minox.
I was reading something where they thought they were Bogwings.
I believe that.
Well, no, I think they are.
Minox are not as big as these things.
So earlier, this isn't a direct correlation, but like 10 minutes before this happens, Greef actually says the word Bogwing, but he's talking about the child. I think he's like, oh, look at that little Bogwing or whatever.
Maybe that's
I think maybe that's just a foreshadow of what's about to happen 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
I think they're Bogwings, but
let's go with that. Let's go with that. Because you remember Minox, you know what I'm talking about, that are attached to the ship?
Yeah.
These aren't those. These are like big pterodactyl looking things.
Yeah, they're massive. And they're obviously
to the point where they can pick up a blurg.
Who's like, I mean, those things are like
4 cows.
15 tons.
Yeah, exactly. They're heavy.
So, yeah, that was awesome.
Let her go. I remember Kuiil's like, let her go. He's like shooting his gun at him.
And it actually, another one picks up one of the henchmen, basically like the bounty hunter assistants for Greef, which is interesting. Wounds Greef himself.
This is how it ends. More Carl Weathers overacting.
Yeah, it was. That was kind of a bad moment for acting.
Cara Dune then goes, oh, stop being dramatic.
Yeah, which is great.
It was great.
She was saying exactly what I was thinking.
Yes. This is how it ends.
And then we get big moment number 2.
Yes.
For Force powers.
We would have been treated to this earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But Baby Yoda walks up to Carl Weathers, to Chubbs from Happy Gilmore. Wooden hand, real strong. It's made of wood, real strong.
Knock, knock, knock.
Knock, knock, knock. He reaches up. Oh, he's going to eat me. At one point.
I know, that was so funny.
Me and Carl Weathers, buddy, settle down. He's going to eat me. Yeah, he's going to eat you, Carl Weathers. Baby Yoda walks up, puts his little hand on him, and heals him. And this ends up being the turning point in the plot that you didn't, like I said, we didn't know yet. This warms Carl Weathers' heart. He heals him. So then the next day, when the old turncoat, the old heel turn is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
He ends up shooting the 2 guys that came with him on the trip.
So good.
It's good, but it's like, if you're those 2 guys, you're like, what are you doing? I'm dead. What a way to die. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for you. Why'd you do this to us?
Yeah. I think we're led to believe that he basically saves Greef's life because they're talking about poison. Like,
yes,
they're saying it's not just
they're
a wound.
deep cuts and they're poisonous.
Like, I don't think he would last the night.
Yeah,
and so, like he somehow dissolves the poison and heals his wound. It was really awesome.
So then, basically, then they come to the terms they've got to make a new plan.
Right.
Because the old plan was basically just bring the baby in and call it good.
Yeah, the original plan, the one that they were talking about at the campfire, was like, we're basically going to bring the baby in and pretend like we're delivering him. And then in that moment, like once you have your shot, go ahead and take it. Take the client's life and get out of Dodge, and then that'll free the city, and then you guys can go off and live your lives. But now everything's changed. So both of the bounty hunters are dead. It's basically just Greef and then all of our heroes that we've been following. And the new plan is we're gonna pretend like we've captured you. And this is classic Star Wars. Like we've seen this with Chewie, like, we're gonna put Chewie in handcuffs and bring him in. Okay, we captured this beast. We've seen this kind of thing several times in Star Wars, and so that was kind of a cool throwback. They do take the empty pod, like the floating pod that the child was in. Obviously, the child's not in there, but
right.
They take it in with the city and basically say, hey, we captured the child and the Mandalorian, and here we are. They make a little bit of a deal about Cara Dune's tats. So she's kind of tatted up on her right arm, and it's like Republic drop trooper,
shock trooper.
Kind of, I guess, like her, it's the sign of their troop.
Like her battalion or whatever she was in.
So they're like, okay, this is ex-Imperial soldiers, so you can't just go in there with that tat. Like, you need to cover that up. So she covers it up, and they go in. Greef basically gets them right in through the gates. He shows them his badge, some kind of ID type of thing. It's his driver's license. And they get into the gate, and then we'll just go straight, I'm skipping over something.
You're fine.
We'll go straight to the bar scene. So,
well, what's really funny about one of the guards one of the stormtroopers, which they're the bike troopers, aren't they? Are the bike troopers there?
Yeah. So awesome.
And that was a really cool throwback.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, from the moon of Endor.
Yeah.
So they're there, and basically one of them goes, "I'll give you 20 credits for that helmet."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
For the Mandalorian's helmet, he's like, "I'm going to put this on my wall." You're kidding me? I'm not going to buy this, sell this. I'm going to put this on my wall. And then the Mandalorian goes, "Put it on your wall." Which I thought was really funny. He's like,
"Just go with it.
Just go with it." Go on.
So we get this very short monologue from the client, which I thought was fantastic. Like I actually went back and listened to it twice.
Can I see the baby?
Yeah. I love his accent.
It's really funny. Like what he says, "Let me see the baby." Oh, first of all, he walks in the bar or canteen or whatever it is this place is.
Yeah.
That he's basically taking his base is the cantina.
Yeah.
They're in Navarro, right?
Navarro, yep.
And he goes, he looks at the Mandalorian. He goes, Vespar. Oh, it's so well crafted. He's like rubbing his hand against his chest.
He's really creepy.
It's so well crafted when it's done by skilled artisan hands. Anyway,
I love it, dude. I don't know. I feel like he chews scenery every time he's in there. Like I love it.
Yeah, and then he leads. And this is the ultimate crazy maniacal. And I made the Nazi reference last episode, and I'm not trying to say these people are Nazi. I mean, come on. Nazis are real. This is a made-up universe.
Yeah.
It's a lot different.
Right.
By a far stretch. But like Werner Herzog's character is like, I'm not sure why your people rejected us coming to your land and taking over. There's never been a moment that the Empire hasn't improved everything they've put their hands on.
Dude,
which is like, if you're that crazy, you convince yourself that your maniacal dictatorship or whatever this was is better than freedom.
Yeah,
you're insane.
I loved that line so much just because of exactly what you said. Like, he truly believes it. Like, this is not something he's trying to pull the wool over their eyes. Like, he believes that.
Yeah.
Like his statement. And I actually wrote down word for word another quote that he said in that same speech. He says, is the world now? I think he's talking about Navarro, or just worlds like Navarro. Is the world more peaceful since the revolution? I see nothing but death and chaos. And I loved that, man. Like, it really kind of gives you just a short kind of glimpse into the other side of things.
Yes.
Like, we in 4, 5, 6 of the movies, we saw nothing but the rebellion side, and just kind of brief glimpses of just kind of the really like deadly side of the Imperial, like how they would kill their own men. Like Darth Vader ends up killing like several of his generals and stuff like that. Just
he
because
just kills them.
Yeah, but as far as like people that truly like have bought hook, line, and sinker the idea of the Empire, I don't know that we've seen a lot of that. And to hear like this guy, like truly, he's a true believer. Like he is all about the Empire, and he wants to see the Empire come back.
Yeah.
I loved that line. Is the world more peaceful since the revolution? I see nothing but death and chaos. He truly believes that the galaxy was better off with the Empire in control. I loved that scene. It was great. Then he has to take a phone call.
Can I see the baby? And then just about the time, and Greef goes, he's sleeping, which is like, this is almost like a comedy.
Yeah, it is.
Because he's like, and he looks at him like, what does he say? He'll be able to get plenty of rest. I just want to see him. And then before he can really open up that canister, a stormtrooper comes over and goes, you've got a telephone call.
It seems like it's important. Can you take this call, please?
It flyers up, and it's a shadowy character. We really can't tell who it is at that point.
Right.
But he's basically like, where is the child? Oh, and then Werner Herzog's character goes, he's sleeping. Right. He's currently sleeping. I've seen him, but he's currently sleeping. He goes, you need to look again.
Yeah.
And then
that's it.
They just destroy, like, just mows everybody down. The good guys all hide, by the way.
Right.
The bad guys are like, there's one protocol droid that's like,
Yeah, there's 4 of them. There's Moff. Sorry, I'm getting my characters confused. There's the client and 4 stormtroopers in the bar, and all 5 of them get mowed down.
Yes.
In like 2 seconds.
And like the only people that are left are the Mandalorian, Cara Dune, and Greef.
Yeah. The Mandalorian slips out of his restraints. They obviously hunker down. There's a group of death troopers.
He was getting ready to take the shot on Werner Herzog when he went to take that phone call.
Which I read a couple reviews, and I saw some people saying that the Mandalorian killed the client, but I don't think that's right. Like,
no.
The shots came from outside.
No way. No. He got shot from the outside.
Yeah.
Which really drives home that idea of like how disillusioned he is of his own cause.
Oh yeah.
That the leader of his cause is like, you've devoted your whole life to our crazy, maniacal, cult
regime.
Group.
Yeah.
And I don't care about you.
Yeah, you're dead.
Insane. Like, and he got what he deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Mandalorian immediately gets on his whatever phone, not phone, but
comm
like
or whatever.
his comms to get to Kuiil, and he says, "Get back to the ship, get off planet, just get out of here. Like, just take the child, get as far away from this place as you possibly can get." The speeder troopers pick up this communication.
Just how's that possible?
I don't know. Like I when I saw that happen, I was just like, has that come up before? Like, have rebels like communicated with each other and then they picked up that communication?
And how easy that apparently was.
Yeah, it was really weird. But I guess they had to do that for the plot.
Maybe his little communicator is a basic thing that he had to communicate with Kuiil.
Like, yeah, really low.
And so
low quality.
Maybe it's not. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean,
not encrypted at all. Like, just
to steal. And Aaron Dice was saying show for show's sake.
Right.
because of show.
So we see speeder troopers go after Kuiil, and then it cuts back. We see what happens in a second, but it cuts back to the bar. And dude, the TIE fighter landing in front of this thing was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was really cool.
So we haven't seen a TIE fighter, and we've seen like First Order TIE fighters and stuff like that, but it's like a TIE fighter from like the end of the Empire, 5 years after Return of the Jedi period of the timeline was so cool to see.
Yeah,
we see it descend, and then it folds up its wings.
Its wings fold up.
It almost looks like an X-wing. At one point, like it's the wings kind of go into like an X formation, and then they go flat, and it lands, and I was just in awe.
It's really cool.
It looked really good.
Really cool.
It's Moff Gideon.
Yeah,
he gets out. Then it shoots back to Kuiil. He's basically running as fast as he can. He almost makes it back to the ship.
Borgs don't run real fast.
No, it's more of a walking gait.
And they're not going to beat that speed. Those speeders are fast.
Yeah. And then the child is just on the ground. We don't see Kuiil. Like all of a sudden, like one moment the child is in his arms, the next moment he's just in the sand. And then a trooper, like in kind of a fast sweeping motion, like just like skims by him and picks him up, and then cuts a Kuiil and he's dead.
Now, is Kuiil dead?
Is he dead? That's the big question, right?
I hope he's not.
I hope so too.
I felt like this is on the Mandalorian's head for ruining Kuiil's life.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, man, Mandalorian, like
he had a peaceful life.
You drug him into this.
Yeah.
You helped him out and cleared his valley, and I'm sure he got to live peacefully. By the way, this show is a lot longer in the real time that's happening in this universe, in the Star Wars universe. It's a lot longer than it seems.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we just saw Kuiil like a week ago.
Right.
But, in reality, it's like several months.
Yeah.
I don't want to say a year, but a long time.
Yeah,
like, a long time.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was on Sorkin for at least, didn't they say 3 or 4 weeks or something like that? Like just that one episode took place over the course of a month.
So he's been away for a long time. But I feel bad for Kuiil. I also know that at IG-11 will come into this at some point next episode. Maybe in some awesome revenge sequence. Might save the day.
My guess is what triggers him is when he sees Kuiil dead. Like, or presumably dead on the ground.
Maybe. Or maybe Kuiil's not dead, and he goes out and he was like, "What happened to you, Master?" And he's like, "Oh, they've killed me in the town. Save me."
Kuiil makes a comment in this episode where he's like, it's not like he doesn't defend, it's just not his number one programming now. But he will defend me, is what he says. And so my guess is that the hatch opens, IG-11 is like, oh, what's all that commotion or whatever, and sees his master, again, presumably dead. We don't know if he'll actually die.
I hope he's not.
I hope the child maybe like heals him or something like that. It would be awesome to see that again. But obviously the child's in captivity right now. But IG-11 sees Kuiil on the ground and basically goes like rage mode. I don't know if he's capable of
other thing is
going back to assassin.
Remember the child though. The child's gonna wake up or whatever's happening and look at this speeder trooper.
Yeah.
And just be like, death.
Yeah. Why doesn't he just choke him?
Why won't he? He should, right?
Yeah. Maybe that's how the episode starts.
And then Baby Yoda's riding the bike, like riding the speeder.
Dude, that would be great. Talking about memes.
It's like a gremlin. You see a gremlin stealing a motorcycle? See Baby Yoda stealing a speeder bike? That'd be awesome.
Oh, man.
It'd be fun.
So, talking about cliffhanger, basically, I mean, obviously, episode 8 is going to pick up seconds after the events of this episode. It's kind of a two-parter episode finale. Yeah. We don't know what to make of the Mandalorian and his crew. They're kind of bunkered into this bar. We don't know what happened to Kuiil. We don't know about IG-11. We don't know about the child. All that kind of stuff is going to have to start out this next episode. And I hope that the last episode is a doozy, man.
Yeah, it's going to have to be.
So here's some, we'll get to favorite moments here in a second, but I have some questions, kind of thoughts and predictions and stuff like that. What the heck happened at the end of episode 5 when we saw that mysterious boots with the spurs? Like, okay, so they set up like this mystery character. We still haven't seen him. We didn't see him in episode 6. We didn't see him in episode 7. Some people were saying that maybe Moff Gideon was the person, but it's definitely not. It's not like he's not even wearing spurs. I mean, I guess he could take them off, but like
he doesn't have brown boots on either, does he?
His boots are different.
He wears black.
Different. It's got to be a different character than Moff Gideon.
I'm assuming it's Boba Fett, but it's like.
So does Boba? Let's say it is Boba Fett.
Maybe
I guess
Boba Fett saves the day. Is that possible?
That's what I'm wondering. Here's what I'm wondering. We haven't seen the rest of the Mandos either, like this, Mandalorian tribe or whatever.
Yeah,
they're presumably off planet. They talked about how they had to relocate the
Coven. No,
Covert.
They had to the Coven. They're witches.
They had to relocate their cauldron and their covert
cauldron.
and so maybe Boba Fett kind of gets wind of what's going on, and Boba Fett is not Mandalorian. I mean, he is Mandalorian kind of.
He's not Mandalorian. He wears the armor.
Oh, that's right. That's
the thing. That's the thing is I don't.
That's
now,
right.
Now Greef. Maybe Greef knows. Well, but Greef has never let on like that. He would have probably made reference to Mando maybe at some point. Oh, yeah, the other guy that wears the Mandalorian armor.
I would love to see Boba Fett. We've talked about this a couple episodes. I would love to see that Mando group of elite soldiers come in, with their jetpacks or whatever and start mowing down troopers. That'd be awesome. I would love to see Boba Fett with that group, but that would be unearned. Like they haven't set that up at all.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it's going to be one or the other. Like we're either going to see Boba Fett come in and just start mowing people down,
right,
or it's going to be his friends coming back to clean house and save him. I feel like it's more likely to be the Mandos, but why would they set up Boba Fett in episode 5 of season 1? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with all that. Let's see. Okay, so I wrote down who's Moff Gideon. We haven't seen him ever in the Star Wars universe. Okay, no. So we really don't know much about him.
But he's the main general guy. I mean, he's going to be one of the main general people. Anyone that's Moff is like highest level.
So the Empire has been dissolved for 5 years, but they're still alive and well in certain parts of the galaxy, maybe. And
they still have the technology. Right. And the technology in this world is kind of king, so it's like they're able to do the things that they need to do to stay in power.
Yeah. And he's obviously very powerful. Like he commands a pretty good troop of Imperial stormtroopers. Obviously has his TIE fighter. Like he's I guess like getting away with all the stuff underneath the New Republic, but Moff makes a comment to right before he mows him down, makes a comment on the line, on the phone call or whatever, the Skype call, that he said he's more. Did he say it to him? I think he says it to the client. No, he says it to the Mandalorian. He said he's more valuable to me than you could ever know, and that makes
what you have, and what you have, you don't understand what you have.
Yeah. And that tells me that even like I felt like almost like he was telling the audience that like as powerful as you think that this child is, you have no idea. Like this thing is capable of things that you haven't even thought of yet. Like I felt like he was looking directly at the audience when he said
crazy.
That. Yeah, like that makes sense though. Like I mean, you think about the number of characters that have actually done like a force heal in the past. Like I think I read online somewhere that hasn't happened. Like maybe in the comic books it has or something like that. Yeah. Like that like force healing is like a super elite thing, and he's doing that without any kind of formal Jedi training.
Yes,
and he's a child, like he's a kid. And
never been taught.
Yeah, and self-taught, basically. He can just do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it really, I mean, and we know obviously Yoda was, Grandmaster Yoda was one of the most powerful Jedi to ever live.
Maybe that species is just that in tune that it's just like naturally can do it.
Yeah, so I think Moff Gideon is like, you guys have no idea what this thing's capable of. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Do we see Dr. Pershing? It was a little odd that he didn't come back in this episode.
And where is he?
Yeah, is he alive? Is he on planet?
In that bunk. He was in that cantina.
Yeah.
In that base the last time we saw Werner Herzog's character.
I almost wonder if he got what he came for. Like he got as much DNA as he needed.
Or he's dead.
And he's gone, or he could have been killed. That's right.
Could because he let them take the baby.
I kind of wonder if he just doesn't come back in the season,
which I kind of think kind of sucks. He may be the way out. By the way, there may be a Pershing escape hatch.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Like I'm just saying, like I think that may be the way out.
He may be the kind of the surprise ending.
They're not going to shoot their way out of this.
No,
they can't beat that firepower.
No,
so they've got to have another escape hatch. Even IG-11 coming out.
I don't even know if IG-11 by himself would be able to take down everyone though. I mean, he took down a bunch of those dudes in the first episode.
I think you're left with a couple things. IG-11's not going to make it out. Obviously, he's not going to be able to take it out on his own. I think there's either escape hatch. I think maybe Baby Yoda kills the speeder trooper people. Because why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he literally knew Cara Dune, had seen Cara Dune before, and is trying to choke her out. Well, this stinking thing that's holding him as it's driving on the speeder bike.
Yeah.
He should.
He'll get free, I think.
He should.
Do you think he makes it all the way back to Moff Gideon? I guess that's possible.
I think there's a shot that he gets free, and they probably won't because they need him to. They need to get back to the OK Corral where they're trapped in there.
Yeah.
Just for the climax of this episode. But he could get loose. He could crawl back over to Kuiil. That rhymed. And then them get into the Razor Crest.
I wonder
and fly in and bomb the crap out of the bad guys. You know what I'm saying?
I almost wonder if the child is the reason that IG-11 comes into the picture. Like somehow he gets free, he chokes the guy that's driving the speeder or whatever, gets back to the Razor Crest, opens the door with his force powers or whatever, and basically gets IG-11 to come out and understand what has gone down, like how bad things have gotten.
Interesting.
I think Moff Gideon survives. I think
he's the big bad.
And
right?
Like he's got to go into season 2, right? Like he's got to be some reason to watch season 2, like that they're going to take this guy down or something.
Think about the trailer art on this show. IG-11's on it, Cara Dune is on it, and Mandalorian's on it. We've been led to believe Giancarlo Esposito's character is kind of the big bad.
Yeah,
he probably is the big bad in season 2 as well.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of one of those.
And then you learn about more about Baby Yoda and where he's kind of what his power actually is, where he's from. Kuiil kind of led you to believe that he's not a clone.
Yeah.
Because Kuiil worked on cloning farms.
Yeah.
And this looks like a natural creature and more evolved in his head, which is interesting.
Right. Cool. That's kind of all I had as far as like questions and predictions. I kind of already talked about some of my favorite scenes. What were the big ones for you?
Man, just them teaming up. The IG-11 stuff is fun. The Werner Herzog stuff is comical to me because of how odd it is at times.
I love how crazy he is.
Yeah, well, he's dead now. He got blown away. Baby Yoda is just awesome. So
yeah,
can you think of a better character that was created on a show that just has blown up in society? Like how many memes have we seen of that thing? Like I just see that meme all the time on Facebook and on Twitter.
Yeah, what else do we compare Baby Yoda to? Like some kind of
he's a gremlin.
No, I mean like another phenomenon like
Furby.
I forgot. I thought we talked about another show.
I think we did. I'm
blanking on it.
I can't either, but yeah.
It's been a while. I mean like there's something has popped up in the public consciousness. Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with Disney Plus. Like the fact that this launched on day one on a brand new service called Disney Plus has a lot to do with how many people are watching the show.
They're going to have a dead spot here with none of the show ready to go.
Yeah.
And I don't think it matters. It's Disney. Who cares? They've gotten how many people bought Disney Plus?
Oh, millions.
Do we know the amount that downloaded it?
I feel like I heard 10 million at one point, but I feel like it's higher than that. Like that might have been day one.
That's a lot.
I mean, millions and millions of people.
I'm gonna look this up real quick.
I mean, it's offered worldwide, right? It's got to be.
I think so.
In other languages and stuff like that. So we'll go into what else are you watching on Disney Plus. I finally picked up the Clone Wars again. So I didn't watch a whole lot more, just another 3 or 4 episodes. Watched a fantastic episode with Luminara Unduli, who's a Jedi that I didn't really know much about. Really cool episode with her and the big bad from Phantom Menace, the Trade Federation guy. I can't remember his name.
Dooku?
No,
Sidious.
The guys that are like,
what's his
kind of
name?
like an Asian
Grievous.
accent. No, they have like an Asian accent. They,
they're like
what's
his name?
Part of the Trade Federation.
Yeah, it's this weird.
I cannot remember.
No, I know what it is. Why can't I think of this?
People are listening on their
they're screaming
in
it
their cars.
right
They're
now.
like, "Oh my gosh, you idiots!"
No, what is his name?
literally
I always
just watched
crack
the
up at it because it's like the most dumb thing I've ever seen. Newt Gunray.
Newt Gunray.
Gunrays.
So Newt Gunray was in the episode, and they were like basically transporting him for like interrogation and stuff like that. And Asajj Ventress, which is like the big bad, the Sith Jedi, Sith Lord or whatever, comes and breaks him out. That was a really cool episode.
Yeah.
Just learning more about just like the different ships, and Grievous is a big part of one of the episodes that I watched, and the super battle droids, which is like the B2 battle droids or whatever. Really cool. So I'm really enjoying that series. I feel like I need to catch up before February drops, and that's a lot to watch between now and then. But season 7 of The Clone Wars is coming to Disney Plus in February. And
Is it really?
Yeah. So I don't know if I can say
the new updated. So maybe that's the next thing we have to talk about on this.
Well, okay. So let's just go into that conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Anything on Disney Plus that you want to talk about? You've been watching?
I believe that the best thing for me to talk about on Disney Plus is probably just this. I've been watching a lot of the X-Men stuff and
cool.
all the things that are on there.
I wouldn't mind watching that stuff too.
So good.
That's a big part of our growing up.
I love it. I think it still holds up pretty well. It's kind of like how Batman the animated series is. The X-Men series. Now the X-Men series jumps around a little bit, and there's some weird animation.
Have
stuff
you been watching since season 1? Like, did you start at season 1?
Yeah,
of
I've
X-Men?
seen all of them.
No, I mean like recently, like on Disney Plus.
Yeah. The first one was at Night of the Sentinels.
It starts
Isn't
out
that
with
the first
Jubilee.
one? Yeah,
right?
Night of the Sentinels. Yeah.
Is she like Jubilee's in a mall or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those episodes.
Pretty freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, pretty cool. I love the Sentinel stuff. Those kind of fights are really interesting.
I just find like I said, the whole thing is really cool. So
we need to talk about what we're going to watch after The Mandalorian. So
I was really hoping a Marvel show would be like chocked, ready to go.
Yeah, and I looked that stuff up, and
it's a long way off.
I'm not sure that they're going to launch a Marvel show at all next year, except for like maybe the end of the year, like fall, winter. So it's going to be a while before we. And I think the first one is Winter Soldier and Falcon. The Falcon and Winter Soldier show, I think, is the next one that's going to drop. But they're saying that's fall of next year, so it's going to be a while. They're shooting Obi-Wan Kenobi. That one's not going to be ready for a while. Yeah. The next big one that I saw as far as new content, not recycled content on Disney Plus, was the Clone Wars season 7, which is dropping in February.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll do that on a weekly basis. I wouldn't mind reviewing those episodes. Those are shorter episodes, obviously. But I'm really intrigued to see what they release in those episodes as far as content. But that's February. In January, it's going to be just kind of existing shows that they've had, and then maybe a movie or two. I don't know. We've had some discussion about the High School Musical, the musical series.
Yeah, and
whatever it's called.
At least one person that would probably call in or something. We could get that figured out, what that looks like.
I don't know that I would watch a whole season.
Man, I don't know if I could handle a whole
that
season
show.
of that thing.
I could watch a couple episodes, just so I
maybe we talk about the first episode. Maybe we watch the first episode and we tee up our audience to say, watch this first episode, and then we have Steven on and we discuss the first episode.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out kind of a weird one for two dudes sitting in a sound studio here. I might be interested in reviewing Lady and the Tramp.
Really?
Like the actual live action.
Do we have to have
movie?
spaghetti and meatballs?
Sure.
We'll have it there and I'll roll the
but
meatball.
We're not going to slurp the same noodle.
Phil. Phil. Okay, that's good.
We have a couple guests that we can bring on the show, a couple of which are female that may be interested in.
Maybe they would want to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And we could do some movies. I'm not opposed to talking about whatever. It'll be easy.
There's plenty to watch on Disney Plus.
So we can talk movies on there.
We just got to figure out what we want to do.
We have a great background. 180 plus basically movies we've talked about through the Horrible Movie Podcast. So watching a movie and then discussing it on about Disney Plus would be easy.
Yeah.
We're all pros.
I also thought about making January, like the month of January, just like you watch something and I'll watch something different, and then we come back and kind of talk about like convince each other to watch it.
Yeah.
So we'll keep discussing, and if you have any ideas, again, email us at disneyplusreviews@hotmail.com.
Yes.
Let us know what you want us to talk about or what you've been watching, and maybe we'll be interested in watching that too.
Be phenomenal.
So, any other thoughts on Mandalorian or Disney Plus?
Well, I would go as far as to say that The Mandalorian, I hope it wraps up well for this season.
Yeah. Where's this episode rank for you?
Oh, it's the top 4. It's probably number 2 for me.
Like your second favorite
I loved it.
for the series?
I loved it.
Yeah, it's hard to top the first episode. Like that episode was,
and I think it's still
like huge bomb
so
drop.
good. That's like, and just how it set up things and how action packed this thing is. Like the Mandalorian started off just like guns blazing.
Yeah,
which is perfect for a Western.
It's probably my second favorite as well. At the end of the episode, I was like, that might be the best episode yet. But
it's hard to beat
the more I
number
think
one.
about the first episode, I'm like, that's one of the greatest first episodes of any show.
You're not going to hardly beat that. You know, Lost. The first episode of Lost
yeah,
is,
you're right.
Honestly, arguably the best episode ever.
You're
created.
right.
It's like a movie.
Yeah.
And like how it was done. And it was so mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. Like, I mean, when you see the plane going down and like actually seeing like even with, relatively bad CGI, like going back, it probably wouldn't hold up. But like seeing the pieces of that plane like rip off and then like people get sucked out of the plane, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is on TV.
It's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
So, anyway, but yeah, Mandalorian first episode, great. This one, man, episode 7, phenomenal.
So good.
Yeah, man.
I'm very excited about the finale. As far as scheduling calendar wise, this episode is going to drop on the 23rd, which means that the final episode will drop on the 30th, probably in the evening is kind of what we're thinking, next Monday night. We've got some holiday travels and stuff like that that's going to push us back just a little bit. We'll try to get it out, the final episode of Mandalorian, released on Monday, the 30th, but probably towards the end of the day. Very worst case scenario, Tuesday morning, the 31st, and then we'll be in January, and it'll be time to jump onto something else. So, next up in your feed, we're going to do, I don't know how long we're going to talk about it, probably at least 30 minutes or whatever, just kind of do like a spoiler episode on Star Wars Episode 9. Mm-hmm. We did a good job of staying away from spoilers, even though I know we're both very excited about that movie.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's a phenomenal movie.
But we'll put that in a separate episode. Just, obviously we'll make sure that everyone knows that there's major spoilers in that episode. Mm-hmm. I'll put that in the title as well. But if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen to that episode. Be surprised.
Yes.
You'll have a lot more fun with it if you go into it not knowing anything, and then come back and watch and listen to that episode. Mm-hmm. This is just kind of a bonus thing we're going to do. It has nothing to do with today's Disney Plus, even though it's coming to Disney Plus eventually. So
right on.
I am very interested to see when that movie comes to Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. This is the first Disney released movie since Disney Plus has been out. So
Disney would have here's what Disney would have a hard time doing. They would have to justify saying, and we can talk about this in the next episode, I guess, but that's justify saying, what's the streaming rights? Can we get literal? Can we get Netflix to pay us that much money for our own content to run on their streaming service, or TV, or HBO, or whoever it is that you pay to get the streaming rights, and then just to turn around and then a year later, or 8 months later, 6 months later, whatever it is, put it back on your site? Because are you going to get that many more subscriptions versus that large amount of chunk of money for just to watch that movie?
It's going to come down to numbers.
You got to go with rentals. You got to go with the streaming rights of it. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
It's a new era, baby.
It is. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Rise of Skywalker.
So it's cool.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Tune in next week for the finale, the fun alley of Mandalorian Episode 8. I'm very excited.
We're pumped.
All right. Join us next week. Until then, have a great week.
Adios. I have spoken.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.